The countdown to find a missing person begins the moment someone alerts law enforcement. Then, investigators have to work against the clock to find the missing person before it's too late. Here are 3 incredible missing person stories with unbelievable endings. Families of missing persons are faced with a life-changing battle. Reports of missing people are always taken seriously, but to solve these cases and find the missing people alive takes tons of work from entire cities to even whole countries. The parents of missing kids have their lives completely shattered. Parents will spend every hour of every day trying to find their missing kids. But they aren't alone in their heartbreak. The pain and suffering the missing people experience is unimaginable. In the US alone, every year there are thousands of missing persons cases spread throughout the country. As soon as someone is declared missing, photos of the missing person are sent out across the country along with information about them so that if anyone sees the missing person, they can immediately contact the authorities. If the missing person is ever found, sometimes rescuers are shocked at what they find. And when rescue workers found 6-year-old Caden, they were frozen by what they found. A boy named Caden Leach went missing on April 23rd, near his home on Hummingbird Drive in Blount County, Tennessee. He was last seen playing outside at his home. How could he just disappear? Well, Caden's parents were ashamed to admit that they left him alone to play outside. Caden was well behaved, and he would always ask for permission before going outside or other activities. So his parents trusted the 6-year-old to play outside with their dog named Chula. The carefree Caden loved playing outdoors, and he loved his pet dog. The day went by and Caden's parents had no idea he wasn't in the yard anymore. They thought he was playing in his room. But when Caden's parents checked his room, he wasn't there. They called for him, no reply. That's when they realized he wasn't outside either. They started to panic and called the sheriff's office right away, not taking any chances with the life of their son. The state of Tennessee put out an Amber Alert and quickly gathered up rescue workers to search the surrounding forest for Caden. Everything moved as fast as they could. Within just a few hours, by 7:00 p.m., the family and authorities gathered up around 100 people to help with the search for Caden. The team planned to search the areas in a grid. This chessboard-style search means the rescue workers can cover as much ground as possible. They all made small teams and planned their search route. Each team had multiple people so that they didn't miss any important clues. The parents and rescue workers were leaving no stone left unturned in their desperate search for poor Caden. Once they had their search plan, every single person in the rescue team was given a description of Caden along with a picture of him. Caden was last seen wearing a black shirt and sweatpants. He was 4 feet tall and only weighed 60 pounds. Since he was a kid, he could have crawled into somewhere and got stuck, and his light weight would make footprints harder to find. Along with the Amber Alert, the Tennessee authorities also put out an alert through the Nextdoor app, a social networking app for small neighborhoods. The alert made more people volunteer to help search for Caden. A worried and helpful neighbor named Megan Kessler got the alert for Caden on her Nextdoor app, and she offered to help. But the search party didn't want her to join since they were already getting started with the search. So she got creative and thought of other ways to help out her friends and neighbors locate Caden. She gathered up all that she could from her house and even went out to the store to buy food, water, and supplies to support the rescue teams so they could carry on the search if they got tired. Night swept over the town, and the parents gave more details to the search team. Caden didn't have a jacket on when he left. They were now in a race against time as temperatures were dropping fast. The search party brought in the fire departments, canine units, and even Black Hawk helicopters to help search for Caden. Together, they all worked through the night. Then, the next day, someone heard a growling noise. Fearing wolves or other vicious animals, they slowly went to check out the sound. Then, over the radio, Caden's parents were informed that their boy was found. Everyone held their breath for a moment. Was he alive? Was he injured? What happened to him? Then the word came through. Caden was alive and unharmed. His parents, the rescue team, and his town all rejoiced. Thanks to all the hard work of the volunteers and the extra help from Megan, they found Caden the next day on April 24th at 3:30 p.m., just 22 hours after he went missing. Amazingly, he was found only half a mile away from his home, not very far away from his home. You can walk half a mile in just minutes. But it took a lot longer for the rescue team because they made sure they didn't miss any clues as they searched for Caden. How did growling help rescuers find Caden? Well, although they had 100 trained professionals searching tirelessly, they didn't get the credit for finding Caden. The true hero was Chula, Caden's black and white terrier. It was Chula's growl that helped the search team find Caden. This tiny pup had the heart of a lion. While Chula was normally your average lovable dog, he went full-on protector mode when Caden wandered off. The dog was with him the whole time, keeping an eye on Caden and making sure nothing would harm him. It was Chula's guard dog behavior that alerted the rescuers of Caden's location and saved the day. When rescuers found them, both Caden and Chula were shivering and cold. They gave Caden multiple jackets to help him slowly warm up, and then he was taken to the county hospital to make sure he was okay. Chula the dog was given the hero treatment and was scooped up by the rescuers, given lots of pets, and they made sure Chula got warmed up too. Caden was found safe and sound in very little time. But imagine the terror families and friends felt when two people went missing for almost a week. 5-year-old Lamira Briley was going for a car ride with her 71-year-old grandmother, Barbara Briley, on a trip from New Jersey to North Carolina to visit their extended family for Christmas. It was a cold and bitter December, and the harsh winter weather covered the roads with snow and deadly black ice. The Brileys had a long drive, and eventually the sun set. The darkness and snow made it hard to see, and eventually Barbara got lost. She stopped to get gas and ask for directions, but after she drove away, Barbara and Lamira never made it to North Carolina. Luckily for Lamira, her family was expecting her and her grandmother to arrive at a certain time, so they only waited a couple of hours before they reported them both missing. New Jersey and North Carolina search teams were sent to find them. They tried to look for reported accidents and any damage to guardrails along the roadsides. Helicopters scanned the forests around the highways in search of Lamira and Barbara Briley. While Caden was only found half a mile from his home, Barbara and Lamira were traveling a distance of around 500 miles to reach their family in North Carolina. Such an enormous distance was practically impossible to cover no matter how many volunteers they had. Rescuers needed a new strategy. Teams began contacting gas stations and other stores along the major highways. Then rescuers got a breakthrough. Barbara was last seen on the security camera at a gas station at 5:40 p.m. on a Saturday after the clerk showed her the route with his GPS. The team talked with the clerk to figure out her expected route. With this information, rescuers narrowed down the search. The clerk gave Barbara the right directions, but the winter blizzard turned the elderly woman around. She ended up taking a wrong turn down a country road. Sometimes these country roads don't get plowed. They're often bumpy, and there's rarely enough lights along the side of the road. Grandma Barbara was driving carefully, but she ran over a fallen tree that was buried by the snow and got her car stuck. Walking outside in this cold weather with a 5-year-old would have been a disaster, and the pair had no cell phone reception. So they decided to wait until another car drove by. But they didn't turn down any old country road. They actually were on a private road and traveled over a mile from the last paved public road. This would spell trouble for Lamira and Barbara since the road was almost never used. They stayed huddled together for warmth, and Barbara tried to keep Lamira busy with games and stories, but hours passed by and no cars were driving by. Then, hours turned to days. They had brought some snacks for the road trip, but they hadn't planned on getting lost and stranded. They ran out of water, but Barbara was a sharp lady, and she filled empty water bottles with snow so they wouldn't get thirsty. Then the snacks started to run out. By day 3, they were both tired from poor sleep, hungry, cold, and scared. 71-year-old Barbara was too worn out to make the mile-long walk back to the paved road to signal for help. Then a search helicopter flew overhead, and the Brileys thought they were saved. But the forest blocked the view from the sky, and the helicopter couldn't see them. On the next Wednesday at around 5 p.m., a man drove down a road, a private road that he owned in Dinwiddie County, Virginia. The property owner instantly knew the car from the missing persons report. Inside, Barbara was unconscious, but Lamira was awake and energetic. He called 911, and an ambulance arrived to take them both to the hospital. Grandma Barbara was placed in serious condition, but quickly recovered thanks to some good food and good care from the nurses and doctors. Both of the Brileys were happy to be rescued just in the nick of time. Rodhadal Jana was having a normal day with her parents at a beach in the Aceh province of Indonesia on the day after Christmas in 2004. Then an earthquake struck. The earthquake was so huge that it caused a giant wave called the tsunami. The tsunami traveled to 14 countries and killed 230,000 people. Jana was just 4 years old at the time. Her mother Jamalia tried to hang on to a floating plank of wood as the water current destroyed their home. She tried to hang on but was swept away by the tsunami and carried into the Indian Ocean. Jamalia and her husband tried to hang on to Jana, but the raging waters separated the kids from their parents. After the destruction, Jamalia searched for Jana, but she was nowhere to be seen. The horrible disaster meant that search parties were split. Normally, firefighters, police, and other authorities drop everything to search for a missing person. But this time, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of missing people in this small province alone. And workers had to rebuild homes, hospitals, and tried to help the injured. Against all odds, Jana's family searched for her for a month straight, praying to God every night. Eventually, they found a reef and he was alive, but they had no sign of Jana. Years passed by and the family believed Jana was lost forever. But 10 years later, Jana's uncle was visiting a neighboring village when he saw a girl who looked just like his missing niece. She was alive. A fisherman rescued her during the tsunami and took her back to Sumatra, one of the islands to the south of the Aceh province of Indonesia. The fisherman and his family had no way of knowing who this girl was or where she came from. They ended up raising Jana and gave her the name Weni. Jana's parents cried tears of joy in amazement and emotional reunion. After she was missing for over 10 years, Jana is now back with her family. Well, that's all of the incredible rescue stories for today's video. Comment below if these stories made you thankful to be alive. Click that like button and subscribe to our channel for even more amazing videos. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.